We're going to make a traditional caramel sticky rolls, or buns. Some people like to call them cinnamon rolls. So let's get started. First of all, with the dough, you can make it by hand or in a bread machine on the dough cycle. I did go ahead and make this beautiful dough in a bread maker on the dough cycle. It's very lightweight and very elastic, quite easy to work with. I'm going to give you the recipe right now for the bread dough. You can make it by hand, and I'll explain that in just a second. And the recipe will be below the video. Now, if you're going to make the dough in the bread machine, you're going to need 3½ cups of bread flour and 1½ teaspoons of yeast and 1 cup of room temperature water. If you are going to make it by hand, it's going to be a little different. It's going to be 3½ to 4 cups of bread flour, and you'll be putting in actually a cup of milk. That will be different than the bread machine recipe, but like I said, it will be below the video, so you can decide whether you want to make it by hand or in your dough cycle in your bread maker. So in saying that, what we're going to do is we're going to start to roll out this dough with a little bit of flour on my countertop. And what we want to do, we're of course going to use the rolling pin to do that. We want a 13 by 10 rectangle. Now you should be able to get about 15 rolls out of this. If you cut them about 1 inch, you'll get about 15. And I'm just going to stretch it out a little bit. And some of the air is still in the dough, so as I'm rolling it, it's coming out of the dough. And I'm just going to see how we're doing here with measurements. And it's 10 inches. Okay. And we almost have it. Just a wee bit more to make that 13. And then I'm just going to spin it around and double check it one more time. Okay. It's going to come out just a little bit more here. That's perfect. And we're going to come in a little bit here. Great. 10 by 13. I'm going to get rid of the rolling pin. And what we're going to do is just try to get it as rectangle as possible. I went ahead and put 2 tablespoons of butter in the microwave to melt it. And I'm just going to brush that on the top of the dough. Use that all up. And for the filling, we're going to be using a ½ cup of nuts. And that's going to be any choice of nuts that you want, chopped walnuts or almonds or whatever you prefer. We're going to put 1/4 cup of brown sugar. So I'm just going to sprinkle that on. My brown sugar was sitting in my bowl a little bit and it became a little bit dry, so I have to kind of break this up with my fingers. And then just spread it around. Try to leave 1 inch of a border, though, without anything. And we're also going to be needing cinnamon. So we're going to put a teaspoon of cinnamon all over the dough. Sprinkle that on. And now we're going to put our nuts on, and that was a ½ cup. And just try to put them on as evenly as possible, trying to leave out that inch border without putting anything around that. Keep that inch. These sticky buns really taste delicious when they're done. If you're looking more for a cinnamon roll or that type of thing, not the traditional roll, I do have, I believe, 3 other videos, so check those out if you're not interested in the traditional sticky bun. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start on the long end and then just start rolling it in jelly roll style so that it becomes a log. And trying to tighten it in, pulling it in as we go along till we get to the end. And then once you do, flip that towards you and then start to pinch the seam together. And then I'm just closing off, pinching my ends off. I'm going to give it one more roll and round off those edges, the ends here, I should say. Okay, and in cutting them, I find it's easier to use a piece of string to do that. You can use a knife, but just don't press too hard down on them. You're going to need a pan. I like to use a nice deep pan like this one, ungreased. And I'm just going to cut a couple here to show you. And we're just going to step away from this for just a second. And you can see how pretty they look, because we're going to need to make the topping, which makes it called a sticky bun. So you're going to start off with 2 tablespoons of butter in a pan on your stove. And what you're going to put in that is a cup of brown sugar in the butter. So that was a cup. And it'll just take me a moment to melt this. And once you put that in, then we're going to also put a 1/4 of a cup of corn syrup. And all we really want to do is to melt it together. You could even bring it to a boil if you prefer, but you just want it to become a liquid. So that's what we're just waiting on right now. But it is melting. It is coming up. While that's doing that, then I'm going to go ahead and continue to cut these rolls or buns and just lay them down on my counter. Got to re-pinch that because sometimes the dough will separate and come apart for you. So you don't want that to happen. Alright, and we'll cut a few more, 1 inch in thickness. Once again, you should get about 15 of these rolls. Now you'll want to eat these rolls the same day or wrap them very well, double wrap them, put them in a nice Ziploc bag. You can put them in your freezer and they should hold up in the freezer for maybe a week to 10 days. When you want them, just take them out and then let them unthaw, or carefully just put them in your microwave for, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. to warm them up for yourself. But they are going to taste best the day that you make them. Okay, this is coming together. Just a few seconds here. And we'll cut just another one while we're waiting. This is so much easier to do it with a string than with a knife, I find. It's much quicker. Okay, and it started to boil, so that's perfect. I'm going to shut that off, and then just take your pan and then pour this mixture into your pan. I want to try to get that all out. And just spread that all in your pan. Do that with my spoon here. And then all you have to do next is start to lay these cut rolls right into your pan. Put them where they're just touching one another, and they'll look like that. Now you're going to bake them at 350 degrees, and they're going to take you anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes. So start checking them while they're in your oven so that they don't overbake, and I'll show you what they look like when they are finished. And this is how they're going to come out. A beautiful, delicate, golden brown. As you can see, that nice sticky topping on them. There you go. You have traditional caramel sticky rolls or buns. I hope you like this recipe. If you do, let me hear from you. Leave a comment. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.